The unlikely hero. It had been a long, draining day for Lieutenant John Marshall. The sun had barely set, and the hum of the base was already giving way to the stillness of evening. But instead of heading home to rest, John found himself standing in the quiet hall of the shelter. The walls were painted a dull beige, the air thick with the scent of bleach and damp wood. He wasn't sure why he was here, but the sound of desperate barks had pulled him in like a magnetic force. A young woman in a worn-out uniform greeted him at the door. "Can I help you, sir?" she asked, her voice flat from exhaustion. John hesitated before answering. He wasn't here for a regular visit. There was something else gnawing at him, something he couldn't quite explain. "I heard about a dog, one they said couldn't be trained." She raised an eyebrow but nodded. "You must be talking about Maverick. We've had him for almost a year now. He's not like the others." "Why's that?" The shelter worker, whose name tag read Claire, hesitated for a moment. "Maverick's a military dog. Was supposed to be a bomb detection specialist, but after his handler died in action, he's been unpredictable. He's got anxiety, aggression. He's nearly impossible to train." John felt his heart tug at the mention of a fallen handler. He could empathize with that kind of loss. "Where is he?" Claire led him down a narrow hallway at the back of the shelter. At the far end, behind bars, lay a German shepherd with dark, expressive eyes. The dog was curled in a tight ball, his body tense, his gaze wary. John could feel the pain emanating from him without even touching him. "Maverick," Claire muttered softly, her voice heavy with pity. "I don't recommend it, sir. You'll regret it. Trust me." John knelt down, the sound of his knee hitting the floor echoing softly in the room. He reached his hand through the bars, and for a long moment Maverick didn't respond. His head lowered slightly, eyes studying John's hand, wary but curious. Slowly, tentatively, Maverick nudged his nose against John's palm. John's heart sank. This dog wasn't broken. He was grieving. "I'll take him," John said firmly, his voice a quiet promise. "I'll give him a chance." The days that followed were a blur of challenges. Maverick's anxiety only seemed to worsen. John's quarters were left in ruins each morning. Shredded clothes, destroyed boots, torn up papers. But with each setback, John found himself more determined to break through the dog's tough exterior. He'd never given up on anyone before, and Maverick wouldn't be the first. On a particularly tough day, after a full shift, John decided to take Maverick for a walk outside the base, hoping the fresh air would do them both some good. As they walked, John began to notice something strange. Maverick's body would tense up at the faintest sounds. Footsteps, distant conversations, even the rattle of a vehicle engine. John bent down to meet Maverick's eyes. "What are you hearing that I'm not?" he murmured. Maverick didn't bark or whimper. Instead, he froze, ears alert, his body stiff. John watched him closely, his mind racing. Maverick wasn't reacting to normal noises. He was reacting to something else. The next few days brought more revelations. Maverick had begun to show signs of extraordinary sensitivity, his head tilting as if he could hear things far beyond the range of ordinary dogs. John realized Maverick wasn't just anxious. He had an acute sense of hearing, an instinctual ability to detect sounds others couldn't. In a moment of inspiration, John decided to test this newfound theory. One evening, with the base quiet except for the distant hum of generators, John took Maverick to an old storage shed tucked away behind the barracks. Inside, he set up a small obstacle course, boxes, barrels, a few tunnels, aimed to challenge Maverick's problem-solving skills. "Find it, boy," John whispered, hiding a treat under one of the barrels. Maverick immediately went to work, sniffing and pawing at the obstacles, as if instinctively knowing where to look. Within seconds, he found the treat. John's jaw dropped. "Good boy," he praised, his heart swelling with pride. Over the next few days, John worked tirelessly with Maverick, improving his skills. He used Maverick's heightened hearing to their advantage, testing his ability to sense distant sounds, particularly those of nearby vehicles or even small changes in the environment, changes that could indicate potential danger or an intruder. It wasn't long before their efforts were noticed by the higher-ups. Captain Harris, a no-nonsense officer with a reputation for keeping the base tightly controlled, summoned John to his office. "Marshal," the captain said, leaning forward with a stern look. "I've been getting reports about your dog. Maverick, is it?" "Yes, sir," John replied, standing at attention. "Your training methods have caused quite a stir. I've had complaints about the damage to your quarters, and rumors are flying about your secret training sessions." John remained quiet, his jaw set firmly. "Maverick's making progress, sir. He's not a liability." Captain Harris gave him a hard look, his fingers tapping on the desk. "I've been told Maverick is a liability, Marshal, and I don't need any distractions on this base. You need to either prove his worth or I'll have to consider other options." John's pulse quickened, but he held his ground. "Give me a chance, sir. I believe Maverick has something special. I'm not asking for time off or special treatment. Just one chance." The captain studied him for a long moment before nodding curtly. "You have 1 week. Show me results." John and Maverick worked around the clock, with only the small storage shed to call their training ground. The bond between them grew deeper every day. Maverick started to show real promise as a detection dog, responding with incredible precision to the smallest shifts in sound. Then came the day that would define them. While on a routine perimeter check, Maverick suddenly stopped, his ears pricked and his nose in the air. John noticed the change immediately. Maverick had detected something. They hadn't heard anything, but Maverick was acting as though something was wrong. "Stay, boy," John whispered. Maverick barked sharply, pointing with his nose toward a patch of dirt by the fence. John's heart skipped a beat. Maverick was alerting to something. "Good boy," John muttered, his voice trembling with excitement. He knelt down to investigate, and sure enough, buried beneath the dirt was an old, rusted grenade, perfectly camouflaged. Maverick had detected it before John had even gotten close. The next morning, Captain Harris stood at attention as John and Maverick were brought into his office. "You did it," the captain said, his voice tinged with begrudging respect. "You proved me wrong. Maverick's a hero." John looked down at Maverick, who was sitting proudly by his side, his eyes shining with a quiet confidence. "Maverick's not broken, sir," John replied. "He's just waiting for someone to believe in him." In the weeks that followed, Maverick became the base's official detection dog. His bond with John grew stronger each day as they worked side by side, facing down danger and proving that the greatest challenges often lead to the most unexpected triumphs. John had found the perfect partner in Maverick, a dog who wasn't broken, just misunderstood, and together they became more than a team. They were a symbol of perseverance, a reminder that sometimes the most unlikely heroes are the ones who've been overlooked. And in the end, they had both found a new sense of purpose.